Good morning. Jeff Shue and Bill Elkin here, giving you a little update on our call committee from St. Mark's. I want to start out by telling you how we got to kind of where we are, then Bill will tell you where we are. But if you recall, back in October, we had a congregational meeting. Where Sandra Klein from the Senate led a congregational study, so to speak. During that study, we determined a number of things, and one of the questions that we were looking for was what that next pastor might be looking like. We've taken those recommendations and we've been working from that and a number of other things. The next thing that happened from that, we went over those the results of the congregational study at our congregational meeting in November. After the November congregational meeting, a ministry site profile was started, and that was led by Chris Gilligan and he had his task force. And the ministry site profile is what candidates that are looking for a possible position will be how to look at our church. That was finished in probably late January, early February, passed to the Senate, and then something called COVID-19 came about. And we were supposed to have started our study and our call committee training in March, and that didn't happen until June. And Bill, if you'll kind of tell us where we are from there.
Sure. So the call committee, we'll tell you who the members of the call committee are. So obviously Jeff and myself are on the call committee. Caroline Tyree, Judy Fletcher, Amy Gilligan, and Jenny Horton round out the 6 members of the call committee. The call committee was selected by the council to represent a broad cross-section of the membership of St. Mark's, and I think we've accomplished that. We had our training. It was a day and a half long. We did that in person at the church. That was on June 5th and 6th with Tom and Ethelyn Hegley from Cary, North Carolina, and they guided us on an effective call process, particularly focusing on the interview process and helping us identify the core characteristics and the core competencies that we would like to see in this associate pastor that we're trying to call, that aligns well with the MSP that Jeff had talked about. And so the call process could last 30 days, it could last 6 months. The goal is to find the right candidate for St. Mark's. We will be presented with a number of candidates, anywhere from 2 to 4, this Friday, June 18th, and that is really the kickoff of the interview process. The call committee will be presented with those names. We'll then review the candidates. The information will be presented with their RSP, which is similar to the MSP that we prepared. It's basically a resume for the pastors. Jeff will lead us through that, and we'll then decide to interview some or all of those first batch of people. That will be a virtual interview. There could be a second virtual interview for one or more of those candidates, and then if those meet our needs, then we'll eventually have an in-person interview process, a tour of the church. Pastor Dave will be working alongside the call committee and will be very involved in that, and we'll likely also have a one-on-one interview with that candidate, since they'll be working very closely together. And that's the timeline. So
yeah, well, we thought we'd give you a quick little report on what we have done, and of course, as I said earlier, it's just been kind of kicked down the road a little bit because of the COVID situation, but we're trying to deal with that as best as we can with the Senate's help, of course. We'll be back with you when we have something that we can tell you a little bit more than just this, but as all of our members of our church, all our thoughts and prayers remain with all the members, Pastor Dave, the staff, all the congregants, everyone that does so much to keep our church moving. We'll be back to you soon.